Welcome to RCAM. I'm your host, Ryan, and thank you for tuning in today. So, today we are going to be talking about, as I'm sure some of you have already seen, the man who self immolated outside the Trump trial. And we're also going to be talking about men's fear of marriage. I have a lot to say on this. I happen to think that some men, not all men, but some men are definitely behaving cowardly, and I am going to double down on that position today, and kind of get into the nuance behind this conversation. If you like what I do here, please like, share, subscribe, do all of the things that helps me out a great deal. And I am just one follower away from reaching 100 on Rumble. So if you do not have Rumble, why? Why don't you have Rumble? This is the future of the internet. Get on Rumble. They don't censor you. They're for free speech. They have their own servers. This is the parallel economy. So get on here, join, sign an account, and to celebrate, just follow me. You don't even need to follow anybody else. I'm just kidding. There's some people that are cool that you could follow, but also follow my account. All right. So I'm going to show this footage. It is a little graphic, so just beware. But I'm showing actually like a slightly toned down version. The original version that I saw making the rounds was shared by libs of TikTok, but it violated the TOS, so it got pulled. Just before I play this, it is something that is quite tragic that we are, witnessing another self-immolation protest. We had one not that long ago with the soldier who burned himself alive in protest to the war in Gaza, which was foolish and a sad demonstration of foolery, and it cost that man his life. And now we have this other man who also burned himself alive in protest, but not to Gaza, but to the powers at be. So we'll talk about that. But first, let's play this video. And this is brought to us by Disclosed TV, shared by Sovereign Bra.
All right, there's a fire that has started, as you can see live.
I don't know how the audio
if a person
is for this,
is on fire.
Themselves on fire.
In the fire. We apologize for showing this. Get a fire extinguisher. Do we have a fire extinguisher in the truck?
Running.
Do we have a fire extinguisher in the truck? Fire extinguisher.
No, they don't want. Okay.
Live. We wonder if a person is on fire.
Themselves on fire.
In the fire. We apologize for. Anyone have a
I hate that I do this. Anyway, so this video was disturbing, and it wasn't allowed to be shown, but I'm sure most of you have probably already seen it. And this is one of those things that I can't stand about Twitter, unfortunately, is that you do get the pro is you get information really fast. The con is that you get exposed to some content that you just would rather not see. But I guess that is the price for having a free speech platform, is sometimes you're going to see things that you don't want to. I just wish like they had something built into their algorithm where it like auto censored violent images. But anyway, with this content, you see this man who had self-immolated, and that's troubling. That's disturbing. But there's something that was happening in that video that I found more disturbing than the actual act of self-immolation. So while you're watching this video, you see people, obviously there's somebody recording it, but in the background, you also see other people recording it, and nobody is running to this man's aid. Nobody is stopping what they're doing to help this man. No, their first instinct is to pull out their phone and record this man as he is being burnt alive. There is something wrong with you if that is your first instinct. I would rather you do nothing than pull out your phone and record a man as he is dying. Maybe they felt powerless to help. That's fine. But you shouldn't be live streaming this. You shouldn't be recording it to post on social media to get likes. That's insane. But this is New York. People don't care about each other in New York, man. They don't look after each other. You know, there's a famous story of a woman being stabbed to death, and people knew it was happening. They turned their heads the other way and pretended it wasn't happening as she died. And now you have this man that burnt himself alive, and nobody did anything for 40 seconds. Then finally, you have people running over with fire extinguishers, and you have police officer or somebody running over with a coat to try to do something about the flames. You know, some people are arguing it's a chemical fire. There's nothing you can really do, but at least tell the man to stop, drop, and roll. Yeah, he self-immolated, but maybe in that moment he regretted it. Something. But I can tell you the answer. What's not going to put out those flames, what's not going to help that guy is recording it with your phone and posting it on social media for clout. That doesn't help. It's twisted. But this is our culture, man. It's just so messed up, man. And reading some of these comments, you know, I posted, you know, this tweet where I said, I love how people are recording him being burned alive and not trying to help. Took far too long for anyone to come to help. And this was in response to this video that the libs of TikTok has deleted. And this person, Rose, says, without a fire extinguisher, what were they supposed to do? I'll tell you what they weren't supposed to do. They weren't supposed to pull out their phones and live stream it. Definitely not supposed to do that. That should not be your first instinct when you see somebody killing themselves. Shock, horror, running to aid, running to go get help, but pulling out your phone and recording is the last thing should be the last thing on your mind. I think of like the parable of the prodigal son, or not prodigal son, the parable of the Good Samaritan. And I'm convinced in modern times, everybody that passed him by as he's beating it and waiting to die would not just have walked by them, they would have live streamed him as he was about to die. And then posted on social media saying, oh my God, this guy's dying. Look, everybody, look. And not doing anything to help. We're losing our humanity. And I think actually things like Twitter play a part in that, because people are becoming more callous to death, where they think it's normal to do stuff like this. It's not normal. It's not good. It's not healthy. It is indicative of a society on a decline where people's first instinct are to record something and put it out on social media. Like I cannot believe people behave this way. It's atrocious. Now, more about this guy. So some of the backstory. All right, this is from Mario Nawfal. All right, so the manifesto of the man on fire outside the Trump trial. So the protester who set himself on fire was distributing pamphlets titled The True History of the World, and published an online manifesto where he explained why he was taking such an extreme act. My name is Max Azzarello, and I'm an investigative researcher who has set himself on fire outside of the Trump trial in Manhattan. This is an extreme act of protest. This is suicide. This is suicide. To draw attention to an urgent and important discovery, we are the victims of a totalitarian con, and our government, along with many other allies, is about to hit us with an apocalyptic fascist world coup. And he has his manifesto here. The Krasantines show some video of him speaking. I'll play a little bit of that.
Start a fucking revolution. Start a fucking revolution. Start a fucking revolution. You've got nothing to lose.
That last part actually comes off to me as quite sad. This is a man who is at the end of his rope. Feels backed into a corner, feels like he has nothing left to lose, and took his own life, and did it, I believe, for nothing. He's talking about conspiracy theory, who thinks there's a plan by Peter Thiel and wealthy individuals to screw us over using cryptocurrency. I do think, I don't know if what he's saying is true or not. I have no idea. But I can say that it is still remarkably sad when someone takes their own life. It's never something that I'm going to get used to and think is normal, because it's not normal. And it's something that, even if you think this guy is a lunatic or crazy or out of his mind, he may very well be all those things. He was deeply troubled, and the loss of life is tragic, because in this case it doesn't mean anything. It's not going to do anything. And this is one of the most evil forms of quote unquote protest, because the cost of the protest is your life, and you don't accomplish a whole heck of a lot. So, now he's becoming, the butt of jokes on the internet and, being mocked. I'm not going to do that. I'm still, bothered by the fact that this happened and that this occurred. But it is tragic. Now, getting to another topic that I want to talk about. So I have upset a lot of people this week. Far more people than I originally thought I would offend. But I'll read you the tweet that kind of caused, I think, a warranted conversation, and I think leads to a much broader conversation that we need to have. Let me just find it real quick. All right. Where is it? All right. So here's the tweet. I can't tell you how gay it is that men are giving up on marriage. Just become eunuchs, you pathetic cowards. A lot of people were upset about that. A lot of people were saying that I'm shaming men and I'm using shaming language. And I thought about this a lot. And I just want to go on record and say that I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry at all for saying it. I meant it. I meant what I said. I do think it's cowardly that men are giving up on marriage. 100%. Now, does this mean all men? No. But a lot of them are cowards. I think it's cowardly when men are so paralyzed by the fear of divorce that they opt out of marriage permanently. And when I say it's gay, I mean homosexual. I mean, gay and lame. I think it's not good behavior. Now, this isn't to say that I do not understand that there are risks involved in marriage, of course, especially if you're getting married through the state. I've said this before. I think men have correct criticisms when it comes to the state's involvement in marriage. I 100% agree there are risks for men if they get married through the state. No doubt about that in my mind. There are definitely risks. Men get the raw end of the deal. And we have the sexual revolution, feminism, the sexual revolution, no-fault divorce, and the government changing the definition of marriage to involve two men and two women for that. So there's a lot that has contributed to marriage being a raw deal for men. Also, the legal system showing partiality. There's a lot of blame to go around, and I can understand men who are hesitant and even a little afraid. I think there's a healthy fear to have. But when the fear paralyzes you from abandoning a God-given institution, well, I think it's a little bit cowardly. I do. Marriage is an institution that is ordained by God. Now, is that how it's practiced in modern times? No. God is largely being cut out of every fabric of society, and that's precisely the problem. See, if you had godly women and godly men, nobody would have a problem with marriage. And if you had a godly legal system, nobody would have a problem with divorce, because they would know that the judges would not be showing partiality as they should be doing. But they're not doing that. So men rightfully identify that there are risks involved in marriage. And they get the raw end of the deal. They lose 50% of their assets. They lose their ability to see their kids. Their reputation can be tainted. That can definitely be intimidating. Now, what I don't see is, I see the red pill a lot talking about marriage and how women are scary. So they're scared of women. They're scared of feminists. But they don't ever propose viable solutions. Okay, you're afraid of marriage. You think it's risky. Okay, what now? Okay, let's say I concede your point. Marriage is a bad deal for men. Okay, what happens next? What you want men to opt out of marriage? Okay, and do what exactly? Wait for the laws to change? And what do they do while they're waiting? Do they start sleeping around with as many women as possible and risk getting women pregnant? And then maybe those women abort their children? Or maybe those women take them to court and don't ever let them see their kids again. And now they're paying child support for 18 years with no ability to see their child. Maybe that happens. That sounds risky. Nobody talks about that. Or what about the risk for the children that you bring into the world by sleeping with multiple women and growing up in a single parent home? Because if you're not married to them, it's going to be a little bit harder to make a case that you're the father, especially if you're not on the birth certificate. So there's risks there. And I'm hard pressed to believe the red pill is advocating for celibacy. See, they're recommending men opt out of marriage, but you don't ever hear them talking about encouraging men to be celibate. You know what, men? Marriage is a bad deal. Instead of doing that, why don't you be celibate? No, because they don't really want that. See, they don't want the responsibility of marriage, and they don't want to take the risk of marriage or the risk of divorce, while also enjoying some of the perks that come from marriage, which is sex. Another thing they don't do, which, I am actually okay with some men opting out of marriage. In fact, I think it could be a good thing, pending they are committing themselves to something higher than themselves, like service to the church, caring for the poor, caring for the needy, maybe even dedicating their life to making some grand scientific discovery or doing something nobody's done before. I could respect that. I would celebrate that. We need more missionaries. We need more men taking leadership in the church. We need more men filling leadership positions in general. We need that. And if you opt out of marriage and you pursue noble things, I would respect it and honor it. I think that's great. But what I can't respect is men opting out of marriage and having or the red pill community encouraging men to opt out of marriage and then having no solutions for them. And there's risk there too. Nobody's counting it, but there's risks in not marrying, like the collapse of human civilization. Marriage is the bedrock of civilization. It's how we build a family. So when you opt out of it and you have nothing to replace it, or you have no solutions, and that institution crumbles, well, guess what? You just played into feminist hands and helped contribute to destroying the family. Congratulations. Now, I happen to think there are solutions, and some of the more honest people on Twitter are willing to have them, and men I respect, like Zuby. He's made some pretty good arguments. He's proposed prenups. I think that's a great idea. And I was at one point in time very anti-prenup. But he said something that made a lot of sense. He said, if you don't decide your prenup in the beginning of the marriage when you two love each other, in the event of divorce, because it can happen, I'm not a fool, the state's going to decide it for you. So a prenup is built in already. So you might as well sign a prenup, agree on something with your wife that is mutually beneficial. So So if in the event of divorce, and you could set the terms of what reasons would qualify divorce, it's tenable for the both of you. Think that sounds fair? Think that sounds reasonable? And I think you can customize it and tailor it to each specific couple, so there's not this one-size-fits-all approach. I also don't think we need to have the state involved in marriage. Marriage doesn't belong to Caesar. It belongs to God. Marriage is an institution ordained by God. And one of the reasons that we are seeing the mess we are seeing right now is because people have deviated from the Word of God and from how God defines marriage as being a covenant between one man and one woman before God. And part of that covenant means you loving each other as Christ loved the church. Cly writes, listening on X, you're speaking facts. Hey, trying. But yeah, so that's part of the covenant. Guess what happens if we abandon marriage? We already don't have God glorifying institutions. Do we really want to collapse and destroy the last one that God wants us to use to demonstrate the way that he loves us? Our marriages are a way for us to bring glory and honor to God. You abandon that, you abandon a means to bring honor and glory to God. And also, if you're one of those guys that wants to abandon marriage, but you're sleeping around, do you know what Jesus says? He says it's better to marry than to burn with passion. So he encourages you to get married if you can't keep it in your pants. And I suspect there are a lot of you men that cannot keep it in your pants. You want to talk about being realistic? No man is opting out of marriage and becoming a monk. I wish there were people doing that, but that's not happening. No, the people that are opting out of marriage are trying to sleep with as many women as possible. And guess what, too? You're corrupting all of the good women. And ladies, I'm not letting you off the hook either. You have problems too. But right now, my criticism is with mainly men at this moment. We'll get to you, maybe not in this episode, but later, because there are problems that both sexes have caused. Promiscuity, huge, massive problem. Sex outside of marriage, huge and massive problem. Women not waiting until they get married, massive problem. Because it does impact your marriage. Like it or not, it does. It's not set in stone, but it definitely has an impact. But I think we're making a huge misstep, and I have no respect for people who behave like cowards. And hear me when I say this. I am not saying that all men who opt out of marriage are cowards. I don't believe that. But I believe a lot of them are opting out of marriage because they're scared to commit. They use the fear of their assets being stolen. And then when you propose other situations, they shoot them down. A prenup, well, that could just be overturned anyway. Okay, well, we'll try to keep the state out of it. We're not going to do that either. Well, then what are you proposing? Men be single and do what? That's what I can't figure out. They don't give it any solutions. I'll give you solutions. And I'll also encourage you on how to build a healthy marriage. That's why I started these marriage spaces that I'm holding on Twitter. Because there are men who have been married for a long time and they've made it work. Do not tell me it's impossible. Yes, there's risk involved, but guess what? Part of being a man means taking some risk. Now, a wise man doesn't does his best to mitigate risk. And there are things that you can do to mitigate your risk getting married. You can become a Christian. That helps. You can go to church weekly. That helps. You can pray with your spouse. That helps. You can read your Bible daily. That helps. You can marry somebody who shares your values. Those are all things that you can do to reduce the risk of divorce. You tell me you can't? You tell me it's impossible? Because I'm calling BS. I know it's possible. I know it's possible because I've seen, I'm living it out right now. Married 10 years. Now most people, when I say that, they're like, well, in 10 years, we'll see. We'll see what you say. In 10 years, I'll be laughing in your face as I celebrate 20 years with my wife. I'm in this for the long haul. I meant my vows. And you want to know what? Even if something happened in my marriage and it resulted in divorce, I would still not regret getting married. It has been one of the single best things that has ever happened to me. It's given me children and legacy. And if I lost my wife, that'd be tragic. I never want to imagine a life without her. But I can safely say that me and her have done everything possible to have a healthy marriage. And that would not be a fault with the institution itself. It'd be a fault with the people making the vows. That means one of us messed up. And I don't care about my stuff. I don't. I don't care. I could lose my money. I don't care. The only thing that would bother me is if I was losing access to my children, which is a reality. But maybe if you sign a prenup, you can work out that legal arrangement beforehand so you don't leave it to the state. And guess what, too? Another thing that people don't talk about. Do you think that you can still have a family and not get married and there's no risk? They can take your... If you are not legally married to somebody and you have a child with them and you're not on the birth certificate, they can take your child. And there's not a lot you can do about it. And I know this because I'm seeing it happen right now with somebody I care deeply about. Had sex with a girl. Did not put his name on the birth certificate like a moron. And when she overdosed and ended up abusing his son, and he lost custody of her, and she prevented him from seeing him. There was nothing that he could do about it. Finally, he got his name on the birth certificate, but still, the legal system is extremely biased toward women, and he's having a very difficult time getting custody of his son. So it can happen even if you're not married. Hate to break it to you. And when you have red pillars out here arguing to impregnate as many women as possible, you're setting yourself up for some real problems. And your kids deserve a father. God, my generation grew up without present fathers. We don't need that or want that anymore. We need present fathers and present mothers who love each other and who model healthy marriages. There are things that both couples can, both sexes can do to improve the odds of having a healthy marriage. And we need not lose sight of that. So if you're a red pillar and you happen to watch this, I would really like to hear what the alternative is. If you want men to opt out of marriage, what are we replacing it with? What are their options? Because I genuinely want to know. Change my mind. Show me the better way. Because I'm not seeing it. And too often, we want to tear things down without realizing that they're there. And marriage is one of those things that I believe is a cornerstone for society. You tear that down, and there goes the family with it. And we already have enough people attacking marriage. We have it from the feminist. We have it from the government. We have it from now the red pill community. We don't need more people attacking marriage. We need more people talking about how to build healthy marriages and how to reduce the risk of divorce if that's on the table. If that means cutting out the state completely, hey, I'm on board with that. Marriage doesn't belong to the government. It belongs to God. Cut them out. I don't care. Have a religious ceremony. I think that's beautiful. I think that's a good thing. I think we would be better off. I don't even like that they profit off of our dang marriage certificates. It's just a money grab for them. So yeah, cut them out. Just have a ceremony. What's stopping you from doing that? Because after all, this is a covenant between you, your wife, and God. There's nothing stopping you from having a religious ceremony, and then you just go over with a lawyer a prenuptial agreement. If you guys end up breaking that covenant, what happens? It's worth a shot. It's better than giving up on marriage altogether. I think so, at least. So those are some of my thoughts. I'm actually going to be discussing this a little bit. I got invited to Andrew Wilson's podcast to debate this topic. So I'm pretty excited about that. That'll be a good opportunity to present this argument to a larger audience. And we'll see what he says. I actually suspect we'll probably agree more than we disagree, but we'll see. Anyway, that is all that I have for today. I will be having my marriage space in about 20 minutes. I'd love for you to tune in. I have some cool guests lining up, and today we're going to be just talking about the state being involved in marriage versus a biblical marriage, and I think it'll be a good conversation. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, comment, let me know your thoughts. I want to hear from you, and I hope you guys have a blessed night, and Shabbat Shalom. Good night.